Okay, so good morning and welcome to the MQRF presentation. The Macquarie University Research Fellowship Scheme, which I will now refer to as MQRF. These are for people who are applying in 2024, and if they are successful, will commence at Macquarie University in 2025. So today we're going to go through the key parts of the Macquarie University Fellowship Scheme and some key changes because the process has changed for this year, especially for those of you who have applied in previous years. So the objectives of the MQRF are very simple. We want to provide support to researchers who are within 3 years of PhD conferral, who have an outstanding track record relative to opportunity and who show evidence of excellent research potential. We want to provide an incubation period for them to increase their ability to apply for external funding going forward. And we want to enhance the capacity here at Macquarie University to grow one or more of our 5 future shaping priorities, in particular areas at Macquarie University that we work very hard to research in those key areas. So the eligibility for MQRF, there is a bit of it, so we're going to spend some time in going through that. So to be eligible, you need to have had your PhD conferred on or before the 1st of March 2021. Or if you have yet to be awarded your PhD, your thesis must have been submitted before the 31st of December 2023. Now, many people ask us why that is. And that is solely for the fact that for the MQRF scheme, you must start at Macquarie University if you are successful by the 30th of June 2025. Now, we know that the assessment period of PhD thesis can take some time, especially for those in Australia, where it has to go through assessment of independent assessors, then it comes back, then you have to make changes, then that has to be reviewed, then you have to go through conferral. For those overseas, sometimes you don't have an extended period for that. You basically get up and talk about your PhD in there. But because there is differences between all countries, we have to set a limit to allow the time for people to be awarded their PhDs, but also to, if you require a visa to come to Macquarie and work, if you are one of the successes, we need a lead time for that too. So they are the multiple reasons why we set a limit for when you have to have submitted your PhD. So if you were awarded your PhD before the 1st of March 2021, you need to make a convincing case of a career disruption. And those career disruptions can be multiple things. At Macquarie University, we use the Australian Research Council definition of that, so the ARC. So your career disruption could be non-research employment, illness, maternity leave, relocation, disaster management, misadventure. And for each period, it must be greater than 60 or more calendar days, and they can't overlap. If you were awarded your PhD or have been working at Macquarie University, within the application form, you need to let us know why it is appropriate for you to continue here at Macquarie University. And it could be for many reasons. It could be for family reasons. It could be because in your research discipline, Macquarie University is the best place for that to happen. So there is an area in the application for you to talk to. And if you already are at Macquarie University, if you've applied for internal funding before and been awarded, you need to ensure that any overdue reports have been completed. So in terms of eligibility, and this is if you are a successful candidate, you need to be in full-time attendance at Macquarie University, obviously excluding time that you would be on potentially field work, attending conferences, etc. An MQRF is generally started at an academic level A6. And in second year, you become an academic level A7, and then in the third year, A8. Fellowships, as I said before, must commence by the 30th of June, 2025. And you must have your PhD awarded by the time that you start. So it is also a requirement in the second year of your MQRF that you start to apply for external funding. So that could be an ARC DECRA, which is an early career researcher. It could be an NHMRC investigator grant. It could be a Cancer Council New South Wales grant, or any fellowship grant that is appropriate within your discipline and area. And successful applicants are responsible for managing the funds in which they receive. Your salary is managed by human resources if you are successful, but your research money and spending that to ensure that you obtain the research objectives set forth in your grant proposal, that is your responsibility to make sure you do that. And you must complete all reporting requirements. Like any external funder, Macquarie University is the same. You will be required to do progress reports, and you will also be required to do a final report at the end of your tenure. So let's talk about the application process as it is, because as I said, it's changed quite a lot. So in 2024, you will apply via Workday. That is the Macquarie University Human Resources System. That will open on Monday, the 4th of March, and it will close on Monday, the 8th of April. When you submit that application, you will be assessed for eligibility. So all those eligibility requirements we went through in two slides ago, we're going to assess those things to make sure that you've achieved everything you need to and you align. Then in stage 1, you will be assessed by a faculty assessment panel. We're going to go through this in a little bit more detail. If you are shortlisted at stage 1, you will progress to stage 2. Stage 2, you will go to a cross panel, which will either be a HASS panel, so humanities, arts and social sciences, or a STEM panel, science, technology, engineering, mathematics and medicine. And from there, that panel will shortlist the applicants again. And if your application is shortlisted at stage 2, you will progress to interview. So we're going to go through this in a little bit more detail. If you have been unsuccessful during any of those shortlisting stages, you will be let know during the process via an automated response in Workday. So as an applicant, what are your responsibilities in applying to the MQRF scheme? You must ensure that you have read the guidelines, the FAQs, the discipline norms, and attended one of these webinars. And if after reading all of those documents and guides, you still have a question, you can email the MQRF team. You need to ensure that you are eligible to apply. And you need to identify an appropriate sponsor. And section 5.2 of the funding guidelines goes through that in quite a bit of detail. You must make contact with your sponsor early. Seek their input. They understand this scheme and they can help you in articulating this scheme well. Because one of the things that you need to know in this scheme is you need to be writing for a generalist audience, because sometimes your assessors are not going to be experts in your field. So it needs to be understood by a wide variety of people. You also, if you are shortlisted to stage 2, sorry about that, your sponsor must complete a sponsor statement, and they will manage that with the head of department or head of school. And there will also be some other forms that you need to complete, which we'll go through shortly. You need to ensure that Macquarie University have the appropriate infrastructure for you to do your research here at Macquarie. So, for example, if you are doing animal work, does Macquarie University have the animal facilities for that particular animal for you to be able to do that research in? And as I said, you must apply through Workday and you must attach all required documentation and forms. So now we're going to talk about how the faculty works and how you find an appropriate sponsor, because again, that's a question we get asked very, very regularly. So in terms of research, and I'm just focusing on the research functionality within a faculty, which is why this is a simplified process. Each faculty have a Deputy Dean of Research and Innovation. And underneath that sit the appropriate heads of department and schools. Each school and or department has their own Director of Research Innovation, and there are also a multitude of researchers that sit within that structure. So we have a wonderful website here at Macquarie University called researchers.mq.edu.au. And it means that you can go onto that website and you can search for a sponsor if you don't already have a contact with one here at Macquarie. Now you can go very, very broad. You can sort by faculty. You can sort by department and or school. You could search by a discipline or research area, or you can search by a specific name of someone that you may know. So utilize this website, spend some time on this website, but also to ensure that you are reaching out to a sponsor as early as possible. And the reason for that is, here are the Macquarie University sponsor requirements. Each sponsor is only allowed to accept one applicant per year, and that includes both as a primary sponsor or as a co-supervisor or as a co-sponsor. So it's important you reach out to sponsors. Now, sponsors may not be able to answer you instantaneously. They may be getting multiple calls. They may be contacted multiple times. So it may take a little while for them to come back to you. That is okay. They must consult with you throughout your assessment process. They must have a contract at Macquarie for the entire length of the fellowship, and they will advocate on your behalf to the department and or school in terms of the resources that we have available here at Macquarie for you to do the research you're proposing, that the level and step that you are appointed to is appropriate. So for example, if you would like to request to be paid higher than an academic level A6, you first need to have that conversation with your sponsor. If they agree and you are shortlisted at stage 2, they will advocate on your behalf to talk to the head of department and school to seek their approval, but knowing that you may be turned down. It is not a guarantee if your sponsor says yes. Your sponsor is also responsible for having a conversation with you about the type of fellowship you get. The majority of MQRF applicants take a 100% research over 3 years. But there are certain researchers who like to take 75% research, 25% teaching, hence a 4-year fellowship. Again, that requires your sponsor's endorsement first and will also require a head of department and or school. And again, if you are shortlisted at stage 2, your sponsor will assist in that approval. But again, it is not a guaranteed approval until the head of department and school approves that. And there may be reasons why it is turned down. So when you're applying for your MQRF, it's important to understand how the selection criteria works, because that is what the assessors are going to be looking at stage 1 and stage 2. So 40% of your score is going to come from you as an applicant. So your track record and where you sit relative to opportunity. And we keep using the term relative to opportunity because, for example, you can apply to an MQRF within 3 years post-PhD. So some people are going to be 1 year in, some people are going to be 2, some people are going to be very close to 3. And panels do take that into consideration. 60% is going to be based on the project that you are proposing to do over the 3 or 4 year lifespan here at Macquarie University. So 15% on significance, 15% on approach and methods, 15% on feasibility. Feasibility is something that assessors pay close attention to, and 15% on your sponsorship relationship, the environment here at Macquarie University and how it benefits Macquarie University. This is where your sponsor will give really, really good input to this section. And there's a lot more detail about each of these criteria in our guideline. So, key workday information. Now, workday is very easy to manoeuvre. So if you are already an employee at Macquarie University, you will click the internal job ads and it'll have an apply button, and you'll just log in using your Macquarie University staff ID and OneID password. If you are external to Macquarie, you'll be asked to make an account for yourself. Now, as you are applying, it is paramount that you attach the 3 documents that we are requiring. So these will be available online on our Macquarie University website on Monday when the funding scheme opens. So that is Monday, the 4th of March. So you have to have a completed MQRF application form and a project description, and they need to be combined as one PDF document. You also need to have a completed CV and research opportunity form completed. And thirdly, you must attach evidence of your PhD conferral if you have been awarded. If you haven't been awarded, you need to give us evidence that you submitted your thesis prior to the 31st of December 2023. Now, as you are going through Workday, there is a section called Resume and Cover Letter. This is where you attach those 3 documents. Now, resume and cover letter are standard wording in Workday and cannot be changed. What I need to reiterate to you is outside of those 3 documents, you do not have to attach anything else. So please don't attach a cover letter and please don't attach your resume. You only are required to attach those 3 documents. And if any of those documents are missing, you will be deemed ineligible. Also, to note that on Workday, you may be asked for duplicate information. So information that's already in the form versus information that you have to put on Workday. The reason that that exists is because Workday, if you are a successful applicant, help go through and filter into a job offer record. But also too, if you ever decide to apply for a job at Macquarie University again, that stays auto-populated within the login that you have. So you will only have to enter that one. So we've covered stage 1. So let's talk about, in particular, how we move through all those stages. So stage 1, as I said, is assessed by a faculty committee. Now, each faculty are given a quota of the number of applicants that they can shortlist to stage 2. So the HAS panel, 11 of those applicants will come from the Faculty of Arts. 2 of those applicants will come from Macquarie Business School, and 7 of those applicants will come from the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Human Sciences. Now, the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Human Sciences is a very large faculty. So the applicants who will be assessed for the HAS panel come from the Department of Linguistics, the School of Psychological Sciences, and I think that's it. So in the STEM panel, 15 applicants will come from the Faculty of Science and Engineering, and 5 applicants will come from the Faculty of Medicine. They will come from the Department of Chiropractic, the Department of Health Sciences, Macquarie Medical School, and the Australian Institute of Health Innovation. So that is where that sits. Further detail will be provided on the HAS and STEM split in medicine in the job advertisement. So the stage 2 process, if you are shortlisted in stage 1 to progress to stage 2. You will need to provide us evidence of your career disruptions. So that's when we'll send you a form and there'll be a requirement for you to send us evidence. Now, if you don't have that requisite evidence and therefore, and you said in stage 1 that you had the requisite evidence, you may be found ineligible if you are over the 3-year mark. So it's important that you have the evidence at stage 1 in case we ask for it at stage 2. If you are seeking to be appointed at higher than an academic level A, step 6, there will be a form to be filled in and approved by the head of department. And also to the head of department and the sponsor will be required to do a statement about you as an applicant. Please note that you have no input into that sponsor and head of department. That is solely done by them. All right, and now the last stage. So stage 3, in stage 3, 10 HAS and 10 STEM applicants are invited for interview. During that interview, you will be asked to give a 5-minute presentation and you will be asked standard recruitment questions. After that interview, the interview panel will determine who will be awarded an MQRF. 5 HAS and 5 STEM applicants will be awarded a Macquarie University Research Fellowship position. So if you make it to stage 3, so if you are shortlisted at stage 1, if you are shortlisted at stage 2, and you make it to the interview, which is stage 3, you have a 50% chance of being funded here to come to Macquarie University. So let's talk about timeline. So the scheme opens on Monday, the 4th of March, and it closes on Monday, the 8th of April. We suspect that the outcomes of the end of stage 1 and those progressing to stage 2 will occur in mid-May. If you are invited to interview, so if you are shortlisted at stage 2 to progress to interview in stage 3, we expect that you will be notified sometime in mid-June. We are expecting the interviews to occur in early July. And we also expect that the notification of successful applicants, so successful MQRFs, will be done in July or at the very latest, early August. So what we have available to help you through this very important process? We have Macquarie University funding guidelines, which are already available. The applicant guide and the sponsor guide also currently available. The MQRF full application form and MQRF CV template will be available on the website on Monday, the 4th of March, when the scheme opens. We also have a career disruption calculator, so you can determine if you are eligible or not. That is also already available on our website. We have extensive frequently asked questions, which are also available, and discipline norms. So go through the discipline norms and see what a successful MQRF in your discipline looks like, what their track record looks like. These webinar slides will be made available on tomorrow, so Thursday, the 29th of February, and this webinar recording will be available online as well on Thursday, the 29th of February. So please go to our website and have a look at all this information. We want to support you as best we can. So what does success look like in MQRF? So over the last 7 rounds, the success rate has varied from 6.8% to 14.9%. But I do note the success rates for 2022 and 2023 are higher because at that point we had a visa restriction in place. That visa restriction has now been alleviated, so we are expecting a large volume of applicants to come again. The success rate of the Macquarie University Fellowship is lower than other external funded grants, such as the NH&MRC Investigator Grant and the ARC DEFRA scheme. But as I said, if you want to see what success looks like, go and have a look at the discipline norms. But let's talk in very, very general terms about STEM and about HASS. And again, we know that there is variability in here because STEM is a wide array. So we know that certain disciplines don't publish many conference papers. They tend to do conference proceedings. We realise that. We're just trying to give you a slight overview of what a successful person looks like. So MQRFs in STEM are generally between the ranges of the 3 years of their PhD. They have on average 25 publications, 11 as first author, and often in exceptional journals. Their publications have attracted on average 400 citations, and they have an average H-index of 11. They have on average 25 conference presentations and on average 900,000 competitive grant funding. And they've received up to 9 external or internal grants and prizes. Now, for HASS, again, we know there is variability in this. We do know in terms of certain disciplines, they do books rather than publications. We do realise conference presentations exist. So again, the discipline norms breaks your discipline down in more detail. But again, in HASS, they are funded across the 3 years being post-PhD. They have on average 17 publications with an average of 9 as first author, again, always in high quality journals. On average, 21 conference presentations, over 450,000 in competitive funding, and they've received up to 8 external or internal awards and prizes. So that is the end of my presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm also going to stop the recording now.